She walked into the dealership wearing jeans and a simple white t-shirt, inquiring about a luxury car. The salesman looked her up and down with disdain. "I'm sorry, but I think you're in the wrong place," he sneered, gesturing toward the exit. "These vehicles start at $300,000. As other staff members snickered and customers stared, her face flushed with humiliation. She left without a word. The next morning, a gleaming Lamborghini Aventador pulled up outside the dealership. When the back door opened, the salesman's jaw dropped. He never saw it coming. The prestigious Miami Elite Motors sparkled under the morning light. Glass walls showcased a fleet of exotic vehicles that most people would only dream of owning. Porsche, Bentley, Aston Martin, Ferrari, each more expensive than the last. Emily Harper, Emma to those who knew her, stepped through the doors, her blonde ponytail bouncing slightly with each step. Her simple white t-shirt, well-worn jeans, and minimal makeup reflected a woman who valued practicality over presentation. At 35, she exuded a quiet confidence that came from knowing exactly who she was. What wasn't apparent from her modest appearance was that Emma was the founder and driving force behind the Harper Tech Initiative, an organization that had transformed thousands of lives through accessible technology education. Years before meeting her now husband, she had built the initiative from nothing, pouring her heart and education in computer science into creating real change. As she entered the showroom, her eyes immediately fell on a sleek emerald green coupe, perfect for her brother's 40th birthday. Nathan had always dreamed of owning a luxury car, and after overcoming a major career setback last year, Emma wanted to give him something truly special. She could easily afford it. Her initiative's success and personal investments had made her comfortable in her own right, though few knew that. Across the showroom, Ethan Carter adjusted his red tie and straightened his charcoal suit jacket. As sales manager, he prided himself on being able to spot serious buyers instantly. At the sight of Emma and her casual clothes, he smirked and nodded to his colleagues. This would be amusing. "Good morning," Emma smiled at a young salesman named Lucas who approached her. "Welcome to Miami Elite Motors. I'm Lucas. Is there something specific you're interested in today?" Before Emma could respond, Ethan smoothly intercepted. "I'll handle this, Lucas," he said, then turned to Emma with a practiced smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Looking for directions, ma'am?" And just like that, Emma's day at the dealership began, a day that would change perspectives for everyone involved. "Actually," Emma replied pleasantly, "I'm interested in that emerald green coupe." She pointed to the $285,000 vehicle displayed on the elevated platform. Ethan Carter's smile tightened. He'd seen this before, people wandering in to daydream about cars they could never afford. With end-of-month quotas looming and 3 serious buyers expected that afternoon, he had no time for fantasies. "That's the limited edition Verde. Only 15 were made this year," he said, emphasizing each word as if speaking to a child. "Perhaps I could direct you to our used car division. They're in a separate building about 3 blocks east." Emma noticed how his eyes darted over her simple clothing, lingering on her scuffed sneakers. She was accustomed to such judgments. Most people had no idea she deliberately chose this way of living, finding freedom and simplicity despite having access to immense wealth. "I'd really like to learn more about this one," she persisted politely. "Is it possible to see the interior?" Ethan's expression soured. Behind him, 2 salesmen exchanged knowing glances. "The Verde is by appointment only," he lied smoothly. "Our serious clients typically schedule private viewings." Bang. Just then, a couple dressed in designer clothing entered. Ethan's demeanor transformed instantly. "Please excuse me," he said to Emma without actually looking at her. "Why don't you take a brochure? Lucas can help you with that." He strode toward the couple, arms outstretched. "Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Peterson. Wonderful to see you again." Lucas, the younger salesman, approached Emma with an apologetic smile. He couldn't be more than 25, and his suit seemed a size too large. "I'm sorry about that," he said quietly. "Would you like me to tell you about the Verde?" "I would, thank you," Emma replied. As Lucas enthusiastically described the vehicle's features, Emma noticed Ethan leading the well-dressed couple directly to the Verde. He opened the door with flourish, inviting Mrs. Peterson to sit inside, the same car he'd claimed was appointment only. "That's quite all right," Emma assured the now uncomfortable Lucas. "I understand how these things work." Across the showroom, Ethan was performing his well-rehearsed sales routine. "This particular model has a waiting list of 8 months, but I've set aside one for special clients." Mrs. Peterson ran her hand along the leather interior. "It's exquisite. but I'm not sure about the color. We could certainly discuss custom options, Ethan assured her. Emma approached quietly, standing just within earshot. Excuse me, she said. I was hoping to inquire about purchasing this model. Ethan's face reddened. As I mentioned earlier, this vehicle is being shown to these customers, he said with barely contained irritation. Perhaps you could come back another time or, as I suggested, check our used car options. The couple looked uncomfortably between Ethan and Emma. I'm specifically interested in this car, Emma stated calmly, for my brother's birthday next month. Ethan stepped away from the Petersons, lowering his voice. Look, I understand people like to dream, but this is a place of business. That vehicle will cost more than most homes. Now, I've been patient, but you're interrupting a legitimate sale. Several nearby customers had stopped to watch the uncomfortable exchange. Lucas hovered anxiously at the periphery. I'm prepared to make a cash purchase today, Emma said, maintaining her composure. That was when Ethan's professional veneer completely cracked. He laughed, a short, harsh sound that echoed across the showroom floor. Several heads turned. A cash purchase, really? His voice was louder now, designed to humiliate. This isn't a yard sale. We're talking about $250,000. People who can afford these cars don't dress like... He gestured dismissively at her outfit. Emma felt her cheeks flush, not from embarrassment, but from a slow-building anger, not for herself. She'd experienced such treatment before, but for anyone who had ever been judged by their appearance. I believe my money is as good as anyone else's, she said quietly. Ethan stepped closer, towering over her. Let me be clear, he said, no longer bothering to hide his disdain. You are wasting my time and embarrassing yourself. Either make an appointment for a serious discussion, dressed appropriately, or please leave the premises. The showroom had gone silent. The Petersons had stepped away from the car, visibly uncomfortable. Is there a problem here? A newer voice joined the conversation, the dealership's owner, Michael Sullivan, attracted by the commotion. Ethan straightened his tie. No problem, sir. Just explaining to this lady that we operate by appointment for serious buyers. Michael Sullivan assessed the situation quickly, taking in Emma's simple appearance and the watching crowd. His expression made it clear which side he was taking. I see, he said. Ms. Harper? Emma Harper, Emma supplied. Miss Harper, perhaps there's been a misunderstanding. Our clientele typically, well, they understand the exclusivity of our vehicles. I understand perfectly, Emma replied, her voice steady despite the humiliation burning in her chest. Your sales manager has made your policies quite clear. Ethan stepped forward again, his voice dripping with condescension. If you're genuinely interested, which I doubt, you can call for an appointment. But I'd suggest bringing proof of funds and dressing the part. These cars, he gestured around the showroom, are for a certain class of people. A murmur rippled through the onlookers. Someone snickered. Emma looked around at the judging faces, at Ethan's smug expression, at the owner's tacit approval of his employees' behavior. She'd faced discrimination before, but rarely so blatantly, so publicly. I see, she said simply. With dignity intact but spirits bruised, she turned and walked toward the exit. Behind her, she heard Ethan's voice, not quite quiet enough. Some people just don't know their place, ma'am. As she pushed through the glass doors into the morning sunlight, Emma pulled out her phone. The humiliation stung, but a small, resolute smile formed on her lips as she dialed. The Harper estate sat on 5 quiet acres outside Miami, its understated elegance revealing nothing of the billions behind its ownership. James Harper preferred it that way. At 41, the tech visionary had revolutionized AI-driven education platforms, building a fortune while maintaining a deliberately low profile. When Emma entered his home office, James looked up from his desk, immediately setting aside his work. 15 years of marriage had taught him to read her expressions with precision. Something was wrong. What happened? He asked, moving around the desk to meet her. Emma sank into a leather chair, the morning's events washing over her. A new experience. It was educational, she said with a wry smile that didn't reach her eyes. She recounted the experience at the dealership, the condescension, the humiliation, the blatant discrimination. As she spoke, James's expression darkened, but he remained silent, giving her the space to process. It's not about me, she concluded. I have the privilege of walking away, knowing the truth. But how many people get treated that way every day without the comfort of knowing they actually could afford what they're being denied? James nodded thoughtfully. In their years together, this was what had always moved him most about Emma, her consistent concern for others, even when she herself had been wronged. "So, what would you like to do about it?" he asked finally. "Part of me wants to do nothing," she admitted, "just buy Nathan's gift elsewhere. But then I think about that young salesman, Lucas, who treated me with respect regardless of how I was dressed, and I think about all the people who face that kind of judgment without having any recourse." She looked directly at James. "These people need to understand that worth isn't determined by appearance, but I don't want vengeance. I want awareness." James nodded slowly, a plan forming. "I think I might have an idea that accomplishes both." "Nothing too dramatic," Emma warned, knowing her husband's protective instincts. "No buying the dealership and firing everyone." James laughed. "Nothing so cliché. But maybe." He leaned forward, eyes twinkling. "A little education is in order." Together, they crafted a plan, not for revenge, but for enlightenment, something that might change perspectives more effectively than simple retribution. "Are you sure you don't want to come along?" James asked when they'd finalized the details. Emma shook her head. "This isn't about me needing to witness their comeuppance. It's about them learning to see beyond appearances." She paused, then added with a smile, "But I expect a full report." As evening settled over their home, James made several phone calls, setting things in motion for the following morning. Tomorrow would bring a powerful lesson in humility and the danger of assumptions, not just for Ethan Carter, but for everyone at Miami Elite Motors. The following morning arrived with picture-perfect weather. Ethan Carter entered Miami Elite Motors with a confident stride, straightening his signature red tie. Yesterday's incident with the underdressed woman had become an amusing anecdote he'd shared over drinks with colleagues, another delusional dreamer thinking she belonged in the world of luxury. The showroom gleamed under carefully positioned lights, exotic cars arranged strategically to maximize their allure. Ethan had just finished the morning staff meeting, emphasizing the importance of qualifying customers properly. "Remember," he'd instructed the sales team, "our time is valuable. We cater to a specific clientele. It's not elitism, it's efficiency." Lucas, the young salesman, had remained quiet during the meeting, his discomfort evident. Ethan made a mental note to have a word with him about proper customer assessment. At precisely 10:17 a.m., the distinctive purr of an exceptional engine drew attention outside. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, a vehicle unlike any other glided to a stop directly in front of the main entrance. Conversations halted mid-sentence. Even Ethan, typically unimpressed by luxury vehicles given his daily proximity to them, felt his pulse quicken. A Lamborghini Aventador, but not just any Aventador. This was a custom model with a unique emerald green finish that seemed to shift colors in the sunlight. Conservative estimates would place its value north of $1.2 million. "Is that—" Michael Sullivan, the owner, had emerged from his office, drawn by the sudden silence. "Aventador," Ethan confirmed, already moving toward the entrance. "Extremely rare configuration." A uniformed chauffeur exited the Lamborghini and walked around to open the rear passenger door with white-gloved precision. From the vehicle emerged a man of commanding presence, tall, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit that whispered rather than shouted its 5-figure price tag. His salt and pepper hair was perfectly groomed, his posture effortlessly authoritative. Ethan's salesman instincts kicked into overdrive. This was beyond a good prospect. This was the kind of client dealerships competed for, the kind whose purchases included not just one vehicle, but potentially an ongoing relationship worth millions. "Good morning, sir. Welcome to Miami Elite Motors," Ethan called out, intercepting the distinguished visitor before any other salesperson could approach. "Ethan Carter, sales manager. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today." The man regarded Ethan with an unreadable expression, then offered a polite smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "James Harper," he replied simply, offering a firm handshake. Ethan's mind raced. The name sounded vaguely familiar, but he couldn't immediately place it. Regardless, the Lamborghini spoke volumes about the man's financial status. "Mr. Harper, it's truly an honor. What brings you to our humble establishment today? Perhaps I could show you our newest arrivals. We just received a limited edition." James raised a hand slightly, halting Ethan's practiced pitch. "Actually, I'm here about a specific vehicle, the Verde Coupe, emerald green." Ethan's smile broadened. "Excellent choice, sir. One of only 15 produced this year. I'd be delighted to show you. It's actually right over—" "I know where it is," James interrupted smoothly. My wife was here yesterday, expressing interest in it. Da. Ethan's customer service smile remained fixed, though confusion flickered in his eyes. Your wife? I don't recall. Perhaps one of my colleagues assisted her. James's expression cooled noticeably. No, Mr. Carter, you assisted her, or rather, you refused to assist her. Emma Harper, she was wearing jeans and a white t-shirt. You suggested she might be more comfortable looking at used cars. The blood drained from Ethan's face as realization dawned. Behind him, he heard a small gasp from Lucas, who had been hovering nearby. Mr. Harper, Ethan stammered, his usual smooth delivery abandoning him. There must be some misunderstanding. We welcome all customers here. By now, Michael Sullivan had approached, sensing a situation developing. Is everything all right, Ethan? James Harper, James said, turning his attention to the owner. Mr. Sullivan, I presume? Michael Sullivan, yes, indeed. Welcome to Miami Elite Motors. Thank you. I was just explaining to Mr. Carter that my wife visited yesterday, interested in purchasing the Verde Coupe as a gift for her brother. She was, however, treated in a manner that I find troubling. Michael's expression shifted rapidly from welcoming to concerned. I'm sorry to hear that. I believe I was briefly involved in a conversation, but I wasn't aware of all the details. James nodded thoughtfully. The details include your sales manager here suggesting that people like her don't belong in an establishment like this, based solely on her casual attire. By now, a small crowd had gathered, other salespeople, support staff, and even a few early customers. The showroom had gone completely silent. Mr. Harper, Ethan began, desperation creeping into his voice, if there was any misunderstanding. It wasn't a misunderstanding, Lucas suddenly spoke up. All eyes turned to the young salesman, who looked surprised at his own courage. Miss Harper was treated poorly. She was polite and specific about her interest in the Verde, and she was dismissed repeatedly based on her appearance. Ethan shot Lucas a withering look, but the damage was done. James turned back to Michael Sullivan. You know, it's interesting. My wife founded and runs the Harper Tech Initiative. It's been her life's work since before I met her. She's raised over $50 million for free coding boot camps and tech scholarships for underprivileged communities. He paused, letting this sink in. Emma chooses to dress simply because she believes in living modestly despite our means. She finds it keeps her connected to the communities she helps. It's one of the countless reasons I love her. Michael Sullivan had gone pale. Mr. Harper, I assure you, this does not reflect the values of our dealership. We pride ourselves on... Actions speak louder than mission statements, Mr. Sullivan, James interrupted firmly. Now, regarding the Verde, I'm not here to purchase just one vehicle. Ethan perked up slightly at this, a glimmer of professional hope breaking through his distress. I was planning to purchase the Verde for my wife's brother, as Emma intended, but I was also considering a fleet replacement for our corporate vehicles, 7 in total, and my personal collection could use updating as well. Sullivan's eyes widened. A sale of that magnitude would make their quarterly targets in a single transaction. However, James continued, I find myself questioning whether this is the right establishment for such a significant investment. Beta, the silence in the showroom was absolute. Ethan looked physically ill. Mr. Harper, Michael began desperately, I cannot apologize enough for this unfortunate incident. I assure you this is not how we conduct business. Please allow us to make this right. James considered this for a moment. Perhaps there is a way forward, he said finally, but it would require more than just selling me cars. Anything, Michael assured him quickly. The Harper Tech Initiative is hosting a benefit gala next month. We're raising funds for a new tech hub for underserved youth. Ethan, he turned to the mortified sales manager, I think your presence would be educational. Ethan swallowed hard. Sir? Not as a guest, James clarified, as a volunteer. The initiative is always looking for people to help with setup, to assist the students, to see firsthand the work being done. The implications were clear. This wasn't just about selling cars anymore. It was about learning a fundamental lesson in human value. Additionally, James continued, addressing Michael Sullivan, the dealership might consider implementing a training program on unconscious bias. I know several excellent consultants. Michael nodded emphatically. Absolutely, we would welcome such an initiative. As for the vehicles, James turned to Lucas, the young salesman who had spoken up. I'd like you to handle all the paperwork, starting with the Verde for my brother-in-law. Lucas's eyes widened. Me? Thank you, sir. I'd be honored. Good, James said with finality. Now, shall we discuss the specifics of the corporate fleet? As they moved toward Sullivan's office, James paused in front of the Verde, running his hand along its sleek contour. My wife has excellent taste, doesn't she? Behind them, Ethan Carter stood motionless, his perfect world fundamentally altered. The harsh truth had finally dawned on him. He had revealed his character, not by how he treated those he thought important, but by how he treated those he believed were not. 1 month later, the Harper Tech Initiative Benefit Gala transformed the Grand Miami Oceanfront Hotel into a celebration of possibility. Young students from underserved communities and their families mingled with donors, tech professionals, and supporters. Near the entrance, Ethan Carter, dressed not in his usual attire but in the event staff uniform, directed guests and assisted a young girl in a wheelchair. The past month had changed him profoundly. His volunteer work at the initiative had started as an obligation, the price of professional survival, but something unexpected had happened. As he witnessed the challenges these students faced daily and the dignity with which they met them, his perspective shifted. Across the room, Emma Harper, elegant in a simple green dress, approached him. Despite knowing who she was now, Ethan was struck again by her lack of pretension. "How are you finding the experience, Ethan?" she asked. He considered the question seriously. "Humbling," he finally answered, "and necessary." Emma nodded. "Sophia seems to have taken a liking to you," she observed, referring to the girl in the wheelchair. "She's teaching me about coding," Ethan admitted. "Apparently, my algorithms are old school." This drew a genuine laugh from Emma. "She's an honest coach." Ethan's expression grew serious. "Mrs. Harper, I know I've apologized formally, but I need to say it directly. I'm truly sorry for how I treated you. There's no excuse." "You're right, there isn't," she agreed, but without malice. "The question is what you've learned." "That worth isn't determined by appearance, position, or possessions," he said thoughtfully, "and that everyone deserves respect until they prove otherwise, not the other way around." "Good lessons," Emma acknowledged. "Expensive ones too, I imagine." Ethan nodded ruefully, thinking of the substantial business the dealership had lost when James Harper decided to purchase only the Verde and not the additional fleet. "Worth every penny," he replied sincerely. Across the room, James joined them, placing a gentle hand on his wife's shoulder. "Ethan was just sharing some of his insights," Emma explained. James nodded. "I hear you've become quite involved with the coding mentorship program." "Yes, sir. In fact, I've signed up to continue volunteering after my required period." He hesitated, then added, "And I've been working with Mr. Sullivan on revamping our customer approach at the dealership. No more qualifying by appearance." "I'm glad to hear it," James said, then surprised Ethan by adding, "Which reminds me, that corporate fleet I mentioned. We're still in the market. Perhaps you could handle that transaction. Lucas speaks highly of how you've been mentoring him." Ethan's expression registered shock before settling into genuine gratitude. "I would be honored, Mr. Harper, truly honored." Later that evening, as the event wound down, Ethan watched Emma and James Harper working the room, not flaunting their wealth or influence, but connecting genuinely with each student and family. He reflected on how completely his perspective had been transformed. A month ago, he would have dismissed someone like Emma Harper based on her casual appearance. Now he understood that true value ran deeper than designer labels, luxury cars, or executive titles. As Ethan helped Sophia back into her wheelchair after a photo session, the girl grinned up at him. "You know what, Mr. Ethan? You're pretty cool for a grown-up." Ethan smiled. "Coming from you, Sophia, that's the highest compliment I've received in a very long time." And he meant it. But the story didn't end there. Inspired by his experience, Ethan took it upon himself to launch a small initiative at the dealership. He proposed a partnership with the Harper Tech Initiative, offering free vehicle maintenance workshops for students in the coding boot camps, teaching them practical skills alongside their tech education. To his surprise, Michael Sullivan not only approved, but matched the funding, turning it into a flagship community program for Miami Elite Motors. At the next gala, 6 months later, Ethan stood proudly beside Sophia, now a confident coder, as she presented her first app, a tool to help disabled youth navigate public transportation. Emma and James, watching from the audience, exchanged a knowing smile. Ethan had not only learned his lesson, but had become a catalyst for change, proving that one moment of humility could ripple outward, transforming not just a person, but an entire community. We all make judgments based on appearances, don't we? But as Ethan Carter discovered, looking beyond the surface can reveal extraordinary people and life-changing opportunities. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and join our community of story lovers. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever misjudged someone based on their appearance or been misjudged yourself? Your experiences might inspire others. And remember, the true measure of wealth has nothing to do with your bank account. It's about how you treat others when you think no one important is watching. See you in our next story, where another powerful lesson awaits.